Hey TMFG community. In today's episode of Ask TMFG, we're going to be discussing what happens when you pass away without a will in Ontario. Remember, if you do enjoy our content, like, comment, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We love doing these videos for you. In today's episode of Ask TMFG, we're going to be discussing what happens when you pass away without a will in Ontario. Now, this video may be for those few of you, you know who you are, that have been putting off getting that will completed. Oftentimes the question is, what happens if I don't have one? So I figured I'd hand it over to Carlo today and he can get us started. Carlo?
Thanks, John. As financial planners, we think about far more than what the stock market is doing and how that would impact your portfolio. We consider every part of your financial life, including what happens to your wealth when you are gone. And this is considered estate planning. And the most basic tools to have to do estate planning are your wills and your power of attorney. Now, the will allows you to provide instructions on how your wealth will be or your estate will be distributed once you're gone. Although it's pretty high priority to get done, we're often surprised at how many of our clients still haven't completed a valid will. If you pass away without a will in place, then you are deemed to have died intestate. And this means that your wealth is distributed according to what the government wants to see, not what your instructions are. So what does this look like? Let's look at a couple of different scenarios. So in scenario one, you have a spouse. If you pass away, your entire estate goes to your spouse, no questions asked. Very simple estate distribution. However, let's throw kids into the mix. Scenario two, you have a spouse and you have two children. So what happens is the first $350,000 of your estate goes directly to your spouse. The residual over and above that $350,000 is split evenly between your spouse and the number of children you have. So if you have two children and the spouse, that would be the remaining residual split three ways. So $150,000 after the first $350,000 paid to the spouse, that would be $50,000 each. $50,000 to the spouse, $50,000 to child number one, $50,000 to child number two. So let's take a look at another example. No spouse and no children. What happens? Well, if you've got living parents at the time, each parent will receive equal parts of your estate. Scenario four, no spouse, no children, parents are gone. Well, we're going to your siblings. So any living siblings that you have at the time will split your estate evenly. Going even further down the line, no spouse, no children, no parents, no siblings, but the siblings had children. Your estate would be divided amongst all of your living nieces and nephews. And lastly, this is more of a disaster clause. If there is no spouse, no children, no parents, no siblings, and no nieces and nephews, the estate would be distributed to your next of kin following the table of consanguinity. So there would have to be a lot that would occur for that last scenario to be the estate distribution, but you can eliminate any of the government imposing how they want to see your estate distributed by just completing a will. Again, basic forms or the basic tools to start your estate planning is a will and your powers of attorney. We highly recommend that you go see a lawyer, you go see a professional to have those completed.
Great points there, Carlo. And really, I guess the biggest reason for us to be looking to get that will completed, first of all, we talked about it before, but keeping things in control and controlling how your estate will be distributed exactly the way you want it to. In most scenarios, it may be a simple situation where you have a spouse and you have kids and dying intestate would be fine for you. But what also gets factored into the will is, maybe your kids are below the age of 18 and maybe that money would have to be held in trust for them. That's when the will takes up an extra notch because you're able to choose a trustee to have that money invested, choose guardianship for those kids. And there's many different things like that gives you more flexibility and more control over the situation. So highly recommend completing a will and power of attorney, just like Carlo had mentioned. Usually you complete that document and it's good for the next 10, 20, 30 years unless there's some sort of major change that requires updating. But That's it for another episode of Ask TMFG. So remember, if you did enjoy the content, like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Until next time, I'm John Iaconetti.
I'm Carlo Cancito.
And this has been Ask TMFG.